Good morning, everyone. God bless you. Today's nugget, I'll be talking about pride. Proverbs 11:2, the New King James Version. When pride comes, then comes shame. But with the humble is wisdom. In the new NIV version, is when pride comes, shame follows. But wisdom comes to those who are not proud. Because the human heart is so deceitful, as in Jeremiah 17:9 states, our hearts fool us so easily and so often. We foolishly hide tactics to pacify our insecurities and fears that ultimately makes it worse. For example, an arrogant person, they are hardcore and hide behind their insecurities. A self-centered person, it's all about them. They are insecure too. This is pride taking over, eventually brings shame. Human nature is deeply flawed in its assessment of pride. It thinks pride will solve many problems. We think it is the way to prevent people from taking advantage over us. We think pride is noble. We foolishly think it will bring us respect and honor among our peers. We buy into the idea that we should be proud of who we are, especially if society doesn't accept us. We buy into the idea that we shouldn't let anyone tell us that we're wrong. By intensively and proudly embracing who we are, we think pride will bring us satisfaction and fulfillment. When we think this way, we allow our hearts to deceive us. Pride is a heart attitude, it's sin that overflows into the person's motivation, decision making, and activities. Pride is a root of nearly every problem we struggle in life. When we allow pride in our lives, we think we're fixing our problems with insecurities. Unfortunately, we only make those issues worse, because when pride cometh, then cometh shame. When we welcome pride into our life, we are unknowingly welcome shame into our lives. By boasting of our accomplishments or attributes, we think we are soothing our insecurities. This newly produced shame causes new insecurities, which only makes those initial insecurities worse. When we welcome pride in our lives, we welcome shame into our lives. By refusing to let anyone speak poorly of or to you out of pride, we say and do things that are cruel, harsh, unloving. In the process, we easily hurt those who we are refused to be hurt by. As a result of our aggressive behavior, onlookers take note of our arrogant actions and label us very unfavorable ways. Pride doesn't bring anything good to our lives, it brings shame. Let's look at a locomotive principle. All virtues and all vices are like locomotives. Vices are evil iniquities, immoralities, and sin, and that they all pulling something behind them. We don't see what they're pulling because their cargo is behind them in cars obscured by muscle and the smoke of the engine. Vices are especially mistaken as strength and power. We think these vices will benefit us, not seeing that with those vices come a load of consequences. In this proverb, pride carries a load full of heavy consequences. You don't see it until we welcome it into our soul central station, the heart. Once we allow pride to come into our life, we realize too late that it comes with a painful load called shame. Shame is forever hitched to pride. It is connected tightly and welded permanently linked to pride. Since the beginning of time, as seen with Cain and Abel, mankind has been fooling himself into thinking pride will fix our insecurities and problems. We fool ourselves into thinking insecurities can be fixed by standing up for ourselves. We fool ourselves into thinking we can obtain affirmation by pride. We think pride will save the day when it only ruins the day. We think pride will make us feel better when it only makes us feel worse. We think pride will make others respect us when it only makes others despise us. As a race, we fail to see beyond the engine of pride and see the car of shame it carries with it. This also is a locomotive. Fortunately for us, it works in the other direction as well. Virtue also always carries a car of consequences. In this proverb case, humility pulls wisdom into our soul's central station. Wherever humility goes, wisdom goes. Humility and wisdom are inseparable. Wherever humility goes, wisdom follows. Whatever relationship humility leads into, wisdom follows. Most who welcome humility into their hearts don't even realize that wisdom follows because it's hard to see the car behind the engine. It is for this reason that humble people rarely acknowledge their wisdom. It is precisely because they are lowly. Proud people rarely acknowledge their shame because they are proud, and humble people rarely acknowledge their wisdom because they are humble. Rest assured, pride always brings shame on some level, and lowliness always brings wisdom to some degree. What engine are you welcoming into your soul's central station? Look beyond the big engine. Look beyond the smoke. Peer around the side and look at what it's pulling. Both vice and virtue are powerful and influential, but each pulls a very different load of consequences. Don't fool yourself. Vice always brings a consequence that makes your problem worse. In this case, pride always makes your insecurities worse, and it does so by always bringing shame with it. Which soul central station do you want to allow come into your heart? Pride is a heart attitude sin that overflows into a person's motivation, decision making, and activity. Pride is the great sin. It is the devil's most effective and destructive tool. Pride leads to every other vice. It is the complete anti-God state of mind. It is pride which has been the chief cause of misery in every nation and every family since the world began. Pride first appears in the Bible, Genesis 3, where we see the devil with that proud spirit. This clever ploy was aimed at undermining confidence on the goodness and love of God, arousing the desire to become as God. The desire to lift up and exalt ourselves beyond our place as God's creatures lies the heart of pride. Satan's own rebellion in heaven is summed up in self-exalting statement, I will make myself like the Most High. And you find that in Isaiah 14:14. What is the cure of a prideful heart? Confessing or admitting to God that you struggle with sin of pride. Sometimes we don't even see pride in us. Example, my mother was a single parent raising 2 children. She taught us to be independent, and we don't need any help from anyone. When we come to Christ, We must be dependent on God and trust Him. This is a form of pride. My mother taught me to be independent is a form of pride. You see, something as simple as this. Let us be careful. Dependence on God means we need Him and we understand that without Him, we are unable to accomplish anything of kingdom significance. Reliance on Jesus is the door to faithful and fruitful living. Therefore, we can depend on Him for wisdom and insight. In your own time, read Genesis 3, Proverbs 16:18, Proverbs 18:12, and Proverbs 29:23. You see, in doing my research, I realized there's stuff inside of me that are prideful that needs to be handled with God. So I pray that you were blessed by this nugget about pride. God bless you. Have a great day.
Thank you for joining us in this week's Nuggets of Hope. We hope you continue to join us, and we hope that you are blessed by each teaching. You can join us on Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube. God bless you.